Mike, let's just clean up the Cowboys coordinators. What Jerry Jones has been saying about Dan Quinn versus Mike McCarthy, Sean Payton going into broadcasting. Just start off wherever you want with Dan Quinn supposedly turning down a job, Kellen Moore not getting one, and Mike McCarthy having to look over both shoulders.
I don't necessarily believe that Dan Quinn turned down a head coaching job. It sounds good from Jerry's perspective to make it look like that's what happened, and maybe Quinn may have removed his name from consideration at a time when he was getting the definite impression he wasn't going to get that job. But it's good news for the Cowboys to have continuity. I think every team strives to bring back the coordinators if it chooses to keep the head coach. But clearly, Mike McCarthy is going to be looking over his shoulder. And maybe the praise that we recently heard from Jerry about Dan Quinn is aimed at keeping McCarthy from paying too much attention to Sean Payton. That let's occupy him with concerns about Quinn so he doesn't realize what's going on with Payton. And, the other reality, too, given everything that's happened with Brian Flores and his lawsuit, Jerry's going to have to be far more delicate and nuanced if he decides to make a run for Payton, because there's going to be, I think, come next year, even greater attention paid to whether or not these processes are real or whether it's just a setup and a sham to install the guy that the owner wanted all along. So it's going to make it harder, I think, for Jerry to pull off something he was on the brink of pulling off 3 years ago if he makes a run at Payton next year.
How long do you think Sean Payton is going to be working in television, and has your network reached out to him?
Look, they only wake me up for the unimportant meetings, and they never tell me anything because, frankly, I don't know whether they don't trust me with the information or they just don't want to put me in a difficult spot where I'd be tempted to use something or maybe misunderstand something that they did want out or they didn't want out. So I don't know whether or not we've talked to him. I'd love to work with Sean. I think he's brilliant, and I think once he gets a taste of life in the media, once he realizes where the different revenue streams come from, the different sponsorships he can get, the different things he can do. I mean, his retirement press conference went for 90 minutes, and I never thought, boy, I just wish this guy would shut up. I mean, he's very entertaining. He can explain the game well. He would do great segments the morning after if he's willing to be candid about where teams made mistakes, where coaches made mistakes, where officials made mistakes. And he did an appearance with Dan Patrick a few weeks back where he was very candid about the issues with that fateful quarterback draw with 14 seconds left in the playoff game. So I think that would be great, and it's more than just a Sunday gig. He could do Monday through Friday. He could get himself a McAfee deal. I mean, he could make so much money if he plays it right in media that it's not worth going back to coaching. So I think he's got the potential to be really good, and I like the fact that he's kind of approaching it with the idea that we'll just see what happens. But I think he's probably got a plan. It's probably going to go pretty well. And a year or two from now, that's why I made the argument, if Jerry wants him, he needs to go get him now.
Yeah.
Because a year or two from now, Sean may decide, my life is better without having to constantly worry about the bounce of a ball, a bad call, whether or not a guy does what he's supposed to do, whether or not the wind blows the wrong way at the right time, all the things that are out of my control that determine whether or not I'm a good coach. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets comfortable in his new life and says, I'm in no hurry to come back.
Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk. The book is coming out. Playmakers joining us here on Shan and RJ. Any idea why Kellen Moore didn't get hired as a head coach?
Well, a lot of the issues with the Cowboys offense not reaching its full potential, not performing at its full potential, it gets blamed on Mike McCarthy, but Kellen Moore's part of it too. I mean, to the extent that plan at the end of the 49ers playoff game was something that they had in their back pocket just for that situation. That was their way of trying to get the ball closer for a shot to the end zone, and it failed as miserably as it did. He's right there while they devise it. He's right there while they practice it. He's right there while they practice it in a way that doesn't allow for the most important man on the field, the umpire, to get through Dak Prescott and in position to touch the ball and set the ball after that slide. So, I think some of the deficiencies with the team's offense have to be attributed to Moore. And then the question is Moore ready? Is he truly ready to make that step from coordinator to head coach? And anytime you're the offensive coordinator working for a coach whose background's on the offensive side of the ball, I think it's harder to distinguish yourself. It's always easier for the other guy. It's easier for the defensive coordinator to get attention. If you're a defensive coach, you've got an offensive coordinator, it's easier for the offensive coordinator to get the attention and set himself up. But at the end of the day, there was only 9 spots this year, more than 25% of the league. But still, these are very, very few and far between. There are far more qualified coaches to be head coaches than there are spots. That's why the fact that the Texans seemed hell-bent on hiring Josh McCown was so offensive. And no offense to Josh McCown, but when you have no experience whatsoever coaching at the college or pro level, and someone's considering making you a head coach, it's an insult to all the people out there who definitely have the objective skills and experience. And there aren't enough of these seats. This isn't some mom-and-pop donut shop that opened down the street and we can put anyone in charge of it. There's 32 of these jobs in the world, and there are more than 32 people who are good enough to hold them.